Hello, Colts Nation. What's up, No Horsing Around family? As always, this is the No Horsing Around podcast. I am one of two dudes talking Colts. I'm your host, Stephen Burton. And you guys hear me joke all the time. We are joined today by JC from Pewter Report, which is an amazing site if you guys haven't had a chance. He's here to talk a little bit of Bucks with us. JC, thank you so much for coming by, man.
Absolutely. Early in the season, you look at this matchup and you're like, it could be an easy win for the Bucks. But the Colts have turned it around right now. They're in a hot streak. They're really putting it together. It seems like the past few weeks beat some really tough opponents. Last week with the Bills, although the Bills have seemed kind of up and down recently, but really gave the Titans a really close game. Ended up losing that, but before that, I mean, they're on a pretty good winning streak right now, and seems like it's going to be a pretty good matchup this Sunday, and I'm excited for it.
I know I'll be the first to admit, when you lay out the schedule at the beginning of the year, we start looking at it, it's like, man, this home stretch for the Colts kind of sucks when you started looking at it. And I mean, as early as 2 weeks ago for you guys, it still looked like, well, this could be a little iffy, but then because you guys kind of had your little skid, I for one was thrilled that you beat the Giants because I did not want to see a Bucks team coming in on a 3-game losing streak against the Colts.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, you got to exercise those demons. Do it against the Giants, not the Colts.
I'm all for it. Well, we got enough demons against your QB, so we got enough issues with your QB over here in Indy. So kind of, we don't really hesitate. We kind of go right in. I'm super interested, kind of some team updates. We were talking a little bit before air. It being Wednesday, Thanksgiving's tomorrow. It's kind of throwing the week off, practice week and everything like that. We know there's going to be probably more, especially with a coach that we know extremely well. There's probably going to be some more walkthroughs for you guys. Same with us. What's your guys' injury report looking like? There's one player I'm very interested in. No, well, two, but one that I'm very interested in knowing if he's going to play, and that's Vita Vea.
Yeah, well, you kind of mentioned some couple more walkthroughs, but Bruce Arians came out today in his press conference and said, no, we're having a turkey bowl tomorrow. We're slapping the pads on. We're going to be hitting each other. We're going to go. They're going out there nice and early in the morning. Press conferences start at 7:30. They'll get the guys out in and out of the building to go spend time with their family. Of course, the coach will stick around a little bit longer for press conferences and whatnot, dialing up tightening up some things in the playbook. But there were quite a few names pop up on this injury report as of today. Even Antonio Brown again, not participating with his ankle. You have some guys who did not participate. Someone who got injured in that game last week against the Giants, Ali Marpet. Doesn't look like he'll practice and see if he can just go. Depending on the oblique strain that he's suffered, will be a pain threshold tolerance. But the big names that surprised people and popped up are Mike Evans and Devin White. Both of those guys popped up, did not participate today. Mike Evans with a back. You saw him kind of pull up in that Giants game. Said he had some back tightness afterwards. That's going to be something to monitor. And also Devin White, who got injured in one of the last plays of the game with a quadriceps injury. So those are two big names that I'm looking at, watching this week and see how practice plays out, see if they practice, see if they're able to go. But again, you mentioned another guy, Vita Vea, with that knee injury, it was a sprained MCL and a bone bruise on the knee, which I think Bucs fans collectively held their breath when they saw him go down and have to be carted off. But it looks like he's going to be, if not available this week, potentially the following week after. So it's just a wait and see. Again, pain management. How can he play? How can he play on it? And then you had Mike Edwards, limited participation, this backup safety with a groin, who's seen a lot of nickel work. Chris Godwin, that nagging foot injury that's been hampering him, still limited participation. Raheem Nunez-Rocha is another defensive tackle, ankle injury, full participation. And JP Pay, who is an absolute warrior playing through a torn rotator cuff, a split fractured finger, full participant. And then Gronk, too, back injury, that keeps nagging him since all the way in Arizona days. He was a full participant. So it looks like the biggest names to watch here are going to be Mike Evans and Devin White and Ali Marpet to see if those guys can go. Everybody else looks like they're on track to play. And the ones that I would really be watching out for are Devin White, Mike Evans, and Ali Marpet.
Yeah, I did not see the Mike Evans and Devin not participating today. That's big right there. Vita Vea was one that interests me because I saw what he did last year coming back for you guys. The boost he gave. Obviously, we're a running team, so any less big bodies up front is a plus. So I have to ask this because you brought him up too, and I'm super curious. What is actually going on with Antonio Brown? Is it you had mentioned, you hear the stories and things like that of what's going on. Is what actually is happening? Because I'm just curious.
Are you referring to the
fake COVID card?
the
Yes.
fake COVID card? Yeah, no. The team did their due diligence. That was just a local reporter trying to grasp at something in a story and make headlines, which he did all over the country. It was covered by Barstool, it was covered by ESPN, NFL Network, everywhere picked it up. But they did their due diligence. It turned out to be a chef of his, an ex-chef that used to live with him that he owes $10,000 supposedly to, that the chef claims. It was a he said, she said type deal. There was no real grounds for it other than a text message that said, can it was supposedly, AB's girlfriend to the chef, seeing if they could get, and this was back in June too, before, players really had to be vaxxed. Even if it was something like, oh man, I'll just get a fake one, I'll just see if you can give me a fake one, by the time that like camp came around and everyone was on board with it and everyone was making decisions and getting vaccinated, and, he's got a real vaccination card. His agent confirmed it. The doctor who gave it to him confirmed it. Like it was just a grasping at straws story to get notoriety. He did. He got roasted by the Buccaneers fan base pretty hard, but he's fine. It's just an ankle injury. It's just monitoring it. He's been out there catching balls out of the jugs machine. He's got the boot off. He was out there, much to the chagrin of the coaching staff. Tom called him over to run some routes and play some catch last week, and he should be back, I think, if not next week, the following week. It's just taking it slow. Again, this is the Bucs team that they're starting to get healthy now. The last thing you want to do is have injuries re-injure things. I mean, you saw what this offense was able to do week 1, week 2 with all their healthy components to it. The offensive line, Gronkowski, AB. Even when Gronk went down, AB was still playing. I mean, you got to make sure everyone's healthy for the home stretch, because this is a year, as you know, which is unlike any other year I think we've seen in a very long time, where usually by now we're heading into week 12. We're like, okay, this team's going to the Super Bowl. This team's going to the Super Bowl. Or this team's got to, we kind of pegged, and I have ideas of what teams might be representing each conference. This year, throw it all out the window. I mean, you just don't know. There's so much parity and so many upset losses week in and week out. It's really difficult to know. So, you got to play it safe with him, just like they did with Gronk. They tried to rush him back, gave him another week off. Now he's back. You saw the output that he had on Sunday, or on Monday rather. That's what you got to do with AB. Make sure he's 100% healthy before you rush him out there.
Yeah, and I mean, and I joke, I say, like, you guys obviously you have the 40-plus-year-old quarterback that living on limited time, but dude's looks like he's gonna play till he's like 50. He looks, I mean, this is a Colts podcast. This is a Colts YouTube thing. I'm hard pressed, but he looks great. Like, you just sit back and you marvel. I mean, and kind of on our end, the two big names on our injury report that we saw today was, we only had one that did not practice. It's a big one. It's Quentin Nelson. It's that nagging ankle injury. If he can play, he's going to play, because it's just who he is. It's a big question mark there. And some of the other, the other big name is obviously Darius Leonard. He's been on there pretty much all year with the same thing. He had an ankle, everyone knows, had an ankle surgery in the offseason. It's just been nagging. He's been very open about it, that it's been nagging him. I mean, if you watch the Hard Knocks, he's cursing on the field when he went down because he re-aggravated it. And then T.Y. Hilton's on there too, but T.Y.'s been kind of working his way back.
T.Y. lives on the injury report, it seems like.
He really, we love T.Y., and it's just been rough. I mean, he's been very, I live in Tennessee, and I have a lot of Titans fans that are friends of mine. Some of my best friends are Titans fans, and they've brought up to me is this kind of like where he's fallen off the cliff a little bit, where he just can't get healthy. He provides a good spark when he's there. So hopefully he plays. He didn't do a lot in the Buffalo game, but he's there. He provides a little bit of boost. He's that veteran leadership. I mean, Michael Pittman Jr. is a wide receiver 1 now for us, which kind of works well for me because it kind of segues into, I joked with you off air, but we always ask like some players to watch. You guys are so loaded. You can give me players we all know. I'd love some that I don't, but I feel like I know everybody who's on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, the offensive side of the ball is a little bit tricky here, because exactly it's loaded with names, and this is a team that's been heavily covered by national media, so it feels like Buccaneer fatigue where all these guys. But one guy I would look out for is Scotty Miller coming back. He was activated today, a guy who can really stretch the field, give you a deep ball threat. Tyler Johnson, another wide receiver, potentially. When he's on the field, he's earned Tom's trust. He can be pretty reliable at sometimes when he's working in that fourth receiver capacity. Not a lot of attention on him, and he can come out there, make some big plays. Ronald Jones looked pretty good last week, so I mean, maybe he'll come out of nowhere and step up and provide a strong component to the rushing game. Sorry about that. And then switching over to the defensive side, I'll give you one guy, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, JTS. Look out for him. He got on the field quite a few snaps, got 6 pressures, a near sack, was blowing up plays left and right, stuffed Saquon Barkley at the line of scrimmage. They used him as a 3 technique in conjunction with JPP and Shaq Barrett on the field. I would look out for him. Raheem Nunez-Roches, who I mentioned in the injury report, if he can play, he's a guy, very underrated playmaker who can blow up plays as well. You got to look out for big Steve McClendon too with that interception last week as well. But a guy you might not know either on the defensive side in the secondary, Mike Edwards. He came up with a big interception last week. He's a playmaker. He's a ball hawk going back to his college days. The 2 picks that he had, defensive player of the week against Atlanta in week 2. So those are some guys to kind of look out for, see how they're utilized, see how they play. But yeah, I think, there are a lot of names that people are familiar with. And even without Vita Vea, this is a team that, with putting Joe Tryon-Shoyinka in that 3 tech and using Nacho and using Raheem Nunez-Roches, we call him Nacho down here, using big Steve McClendon, they limited the Giants and Saquon Barkley to 66 rushing yards. So, again, Vita Vea left last year, got injured last year, week 5, and they went from the number 1 rush defense to the number 1 rush defense. So just because he's out, this team is built and predicated on stopping the run first. And I don't think that changes much. It's going to provide a very big matchup problem for the Colts if they can't get JT going, because it puts the ball in Carson Wentz's hands and says, and that's going to be the game plan, right? I mean, that's going to be the game plan. It's not like you went up against the Bills, who are predicated on speed. And it's funny. I was just talking about the Bills defense. The Bills are set up like the Colts, coincidentally, back when Peyton Manning,
Yeah.
You get a big lead, and then you have smaller, speedy, quick pass rushers and stuff on the field like that to apply pressure, because you're not going to run the ball because you've already scored so many points if you're back with Peyton and all them, that now teams got to play catch up, so they can't run it on you. So you get these smaller guys who have speed and get after the quarterback. And that's kind of what the Bills are. That's kind of what the Bills have going on for them. Well, the Colts, I mean, you got that running game, good luck, but the Bucs are built different than that. They're built to stop the run. So they're going to try to take away and say, hey, Carson Wentz, you're going to have to throw more than 106 yards to beat us like he did last week.
Yeah, he wasn't, last week. I tell people all the time, I've kind of gotten the rap as a Carson Wentz apologist a little bit, Carson Wentz homer. Listen, I had Jacoby Brissett. I had Scott Tolzien. Now, granted, I'm saying all this. I had Peyton Manning and I had Andrew Luck, but I was really happy to get him. I tell people all the time, he seems to me, watching from the outside with Carson at least, is that he is the quarterback that they need right now. Okay, yeah. He's the quarterback. He's not making stupid decisions outside of the Titans game. We all know that got beaten to death. Like I said, I live in Tennessee, so I heard nothing but about that game. Outside of that, I mean, 18 touchdowns, 3 picks. He's playing efficient. Do I want the ball? I'll tell you what. If the Bucs can stop the run, and we have to have Carson throw the ball 50 times, that does worry me. It does worry me only because he doesn't need to be throwing that often. He needs, you want 25 to 30, somewhere around there, possibly. For him, the more attempts he's going to make, the more prone he is to make a mistake. And like you said, like I enjoyed, you named all these players, and Ndamukong Suh's still there.
Yeah.
Antoine Winfield Jr. is a huge one. I love him. He's a ball hawk for you guys. Shaq Barrett, you've got all these guys. It's going to be really interesting to see. I mean, hearing from you, it sounds like it's kind of a matchup of what the Colts offense to your defense. It's what the Colts do best against what the Bucs do best. Yeah. It's a big beefy line. It's got pass rushers, and then we've got our O-line that wants to line up and kind of maul. They want to get off the ball and push you back. Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to see who's going to win out on that. Where's it going to go? Like I joked with you, I was very happy to see you guys beat the Giants. I did not want a Bucs team on a 3-game skid coming to Indy. I didn't want to see that because we all know with Tom Brady, everyone knows what Tom Brady's all about when it comes to it. So, when you went through the offense, I'm really interested too when we look at our defense matching up against your offense.
Yeah.
In the past, we've as Colts fans, we've never seemed to match up well against Tom Brady. Is it an issue? He's been an issue for the entire league for 25 years. But at the same time, I look around your guys' offense, and I have a hard time as a Colts fan looking and going, oh, if we take away this. Because if I take away Gronkowski, you have O.J. Howard. If I take away Mike Evans, if he plays, you have Godwin. It's if I take away Fournette, you have Ronald Jones. There's so much.
Yeah, it's difficult to match up with this team too because they have such an experienced quarterback, such a polished quarterback, and you kind of look at Tom Brady, his regular and postseason career against Indianapolis. It's not pretty. He's got a 15-4 record, 38 touchdowns, 252 yards a game, and a 98 passer rating. He just seems to step up and perform, and he does it with his best friend, Rob Gronkowski, who's got almost 30 receptions, 450 yards, 7 touchdowns, 15 yards per reception. And like you said, if you try to take away and even forget about the backups and O.J. Howard or Ronald Jones, if you take away Godwin and Evans, now you got to account for Gronk, and Fournette, who's been catching it at an insane clip out of the backfield. So it's going to be interesting to see how they try to match up with this team and who because Leonard Fournette's your 3rd leading receiver on the team right now, 44 catches. So, I mean, it's like, who is going to cover who and how are they going to match up? Now, I will say that +15 ratio does make me a little nervous because the Bucs have been prone to turning the ball over here the last couple of games. And, with the Colts have been a turnover machine. They're first in the league, +15 ratio in turnovers. So they're doing well. And not only that is the Bucs need to really get over their road woes. I mean, you look at what they've done so far. This team, Indy, at home, is limiting the opponents to 23 points while scoring 28 points, roughly. Tampa on the road is scoring 27 points, 27.6. And they're allowing Tampa on the road is allowing 27.6 points while only scoring 23 points. So you flip those around. Indy's allowing 23. Tampa's only scoring 23.
What's the deal with that? Out of curiosity,
it's weird because they are undefeated at home and they're the highest scoring team in the league, and it's because of their home numbers. They're like 40 points, averaging 40 points at home. It's insane. I don't know if it's crowd noise, if that's playing a factor because they didn't have to worry about that last year. If it's just the traveling, I mean, some teams just have hiccups, but that's where their losses have come from on the road. So they've got to definitely turn that around. I think that starts with this week. Hopefully, there's no horsing around and piping in crowd noise again.
That's not since the RCA Dome, supposedly.
Yeah, exactly. So, but no, I mean, that's been a struggle for them. But, Tom Brady has really taken command. And as a Colts fan, when the month of November comes, specifically right after Thanksgiving, it's when Tom Brady usually turns his game up a notch, gets the team to turn their game up a notch. And just some numbers on him right now. He's first in yards per game with 318. His touchdown passes are leading the league, 29. He's got the most first downs per game, 16. His total EPA is 105.4, and his PFF grade is highest in the league, 91.5. While the Bucs are averaging 30 points per game, their offensive DVOA is 25.6, and their pass defense's DVOA is 46.6. They're killing it at that rate. It's just the Bucs' losses for the most part have not been beat, right? They have beaten themselves. It's been penalties. It's been turnovers. You look at all those games that we've seen. Yeah, I mean, it takes a good opponent. Any given Sunday, we know that. But when you're beating yourselves and giving these opponents chance after chance to continue to make plays on you and putting yourself out of first down range and touchdown and red zone and touchdowns and field goals by penalties, I mean, you're letting teams hang around. Last week they cleaned it up a little bit. Still had a couple. The week before it was atrocious, so we'll see what Bucs team comes out this week. Some guys have too much turkey tomorrow or whatnot, but I think they have to get over beating themselves, turnovers and penalties, and they've got a big challenge up ahead of them because Indy gets loud. They're going to be loud there, and they've been able to turn turnovers at an alarming clip this year. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and with the turnovers, that for us, that begins and ends with Darius Leonard. I mean, he's an otherworldly talent. And I mean, they set the goal. A lot of Indy fans know they set the goal of 40 turnovers last year. Didn't get it. They set it this year. They're on pace for 39 is where they're sitting right now. I mean, and he just, for those who don't know, I mean, with him, he studies tape on how they carry the ball. So he knows where to punch it when he punches for the ball. So, I mean, that's interesting. The part for me, too, is like, as I said, I think a key for the Colts defense against Tom Brady is our front four. It's DeForest Buckner, it's Grover Stewart, because in the past, at least with Tom Brady, that kind of seems to be the only book that people can look to is pressure with the front four, which is a struggle for us anyway. That is a struggle in our game, is pressure on the quarterback and actually getting home. Tom seems to be and outside of the game last week where he scrambled like he was 22 years old again for first downs.
I believe that.
He doesn't seem to he manipulates the pocket, but he doesn't want to get out of the pocket too much. So if you can hit him off his spot a little, I think that helps a little bit. I'm curious with them too I almost feel from afar watching the Bucs, and you can correct me if I'm wrong and tell me if I am. They almost seem like a team that knows they can click it on. They did it last year. Do you get that sense like they know that they almost feel like we can hit that switch and we can just put the pedal down and go?
Yeah, it's frustrating sometimes the play calling, especially when they're running the ball on first down and having no success. And the next series comes out, you're putting yourselves in a 2nd and 9, 3rd and 8. You got to punt the ball. Then the next series comes around, and you're running the ball on first down again, putting yourself in a 2nd and 7, incomplete pass. Now you're in a 3rd and 7 instead of using your number one pass offense in the league and going out and taking those shots on first down to move the sticks or get bigger games at and using the screen. They've used the screen game a lot this season, and it's worked sometimes it hasn't, but I think they feel like, hey, we can just turn it on. Let's try to set the tempo here with these first down runs, with these screen plays, with these and if we want to, we can turn it on and throw it down the field and chuck it, find our guys. But I think coming out of the gate hot, and you saw it that first drive against the Giants, they came out the game hot, with moving down the field, got a quick touchdown, took them 3 minutes off the clock. Boom, touchdown. Next possession, now they're starting to run the ball on first down, utilizing screen. It's like, enough is enough. Enough is enough, Byron. Please stop. You know, you got
Now,
this
is Byron calling all the plays?
He
Is Arians calling anything?
He's not. Arians is not calling anything.
Wow.
Arians, at this point, from my perspective, covering the team, I feel like I think Arians is very hands off. Like, he wants to know. He's listening to play calls on offense, and he's got his QB band on his wrist too. So he's checking what plays are called. And if he needs to butt in and say, hey, no, I think we want to do this, or hey, let's do this, or whatever, he's a head coach. He's got that. But for the most part, on offense, defense, he lets Byron run it, and he lets Todd Bowles run it. Sorry about that. Todd Bowles run it on game day. They all work together, set the game plan. You know, I'm sure he's very heavily involved in game planning and getting it all together. But come game day, it seems like he is very hands off and lets his coordinators run the show. And he's got all the faith in the world in them. But yeah, so I mean, those are some gripes we kind of have over here. I think that you are right in saying that it seems like they think they can turn it on and off, and instead of consistently having it on, it's definitely frustrating to watch sometimes, especially frustrating to write about. But going back to your first point too, I mean, every quarterback, right? Pressure in the middle, pressure up the middle, take away the pocket for them to move around. It hurts every quarterback. But it seems like, as you said, that's the only thing that people fall back on with Tom Brady is the fact that because of that lack of mobility, because he's able to have this innate sense around him to take a half step to the side and avoid an arm coming down to get him or to bring him down. Yeah. You know, that's the key is to take that space away from him. And it starts with disrupting the middle of the pocket, not giving him that area to step up, not giving him that spot to plant, and getting to him early. You know, if you hit him early in the game and he starts, you know, it's Tom Brady. He's not seeing ghosts out there, right? But you know, he's gonna, you know, if he feels that the pressure is gonna come, he's gonna try to get the ball out quicker, and that leads to more checkdowns, more shorter passes than hitting those intermediate to long routes. So that's definitely the key for Indy. I think is getting pressure up the middle and hitting him early and making him feel that pocket could be disrupted at any minute, at any moment, so that he's not taking that time to, you know, let things develop downfield, and he's relying on those dump offs, those screen plays, and those short to, you know, semi-intermediate routes instead of beating you down the field and beating you on those true intermediate routes.
Yeah, and I mean, and you know, with Arians, we know him extremely well. You know, no risk it, no biscuit. You know, I know he's tweaked it a little with Tom, but like you mentioned too, those are long developing routes. If the Colts themselves can get home or just hit, I think that'll help some.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like Colts have to disrupt Tom Brady, and I think the biggest thing for the Bucs is stopping Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a video. I think, you know, Tom's got a very real possibility of winning an MVP this year. And we have someone who I think has an outside shot. It depends on how the year ends. But
running back, so
yeah, that's the thing. Like I did a video. I think it was 2016 was the last time a running back won the award. I think that was the year that Adrian Peterson when he had 2,000 yards. So, you know, it's a different kind of thing. But I'm interested. So let's kind of go two keys. Like what do the Bucs need to do to win this game?
First of all, obviously, I mean, stop Jonathan Taylor. You gotta put the ball in Carson Wentz's hands and say, hey, beat us with everybody else. Beat us with Pittman. Beat us with Mo Alley Cox. Beat us with T.Y. Hilton if he's playing. You gotta beat us with those guys, and we're gonna trust our defense, our secondary, to limit you and get after you and you know make mistakes that Carson Wentz can sometimes be prone to making. You mentioned his numbers, you know, only 3 interceptions, 18 touchdowns. He's been a pretty good game manager. But if you take that's with Jonathan Taylor doing Jonathan Taylor type things. But if you take him away out of the equation and limit him, even if Jonathan Taylor does get 100 yards, right? If you limit him to where he's working for those 100 yards. You're not giving up chunk plays. He's got around 30 carries or whatnot, 25, 30 carries, and he's just at 100 yards. He's working for that. That's going to go a long way. On offense, you got to start off hot. You got to start off quick, and you have to locate the weaknesses in the Colts offense and exploit them, whether that be Mike Evans on the outside if he's able to play, Gronk up the seam, Godwin in the slot, Scotty Miller getting free, or you're able to even get a guy like Leonard Fournette going in the running game. Use play action a lot more, use pre-snap motion. And the biggest one is mental mistakes, and that's turnovers and penalties. You can't have that. You can't have pre-snap penalties on either side of the ball. And Bruce Arians will say, defense always give the defense one pre-snap penalty. They're trying to get home. They're trying to jump that snap count, right? Trying to get after. He'll give them one. But after that, we're talking about
no more.
Yeah. we can't have offsides. We have to make sure our communication's there. They're practicing with crowd noise. You need to make sure you're aware of what's going on. Checks. You got to line up in the right formation. You can't be false. There can't be any false starts here, especially by position players, especially by offensive linemen, but position players as well. We saw the week prior, OJ Howard in the loss to Washington right off the gate, first play, false start. Can't have that. And then the defense, there's smart defensive pass interference. We know that. And there's bad defensive pass interference. Smart is the guys behind you. He's going to score a touchdown. You stop them. They're still down at the 20-yard line, but it's not a given touchdown. You can hold them for a field goal. Maybe you get a turnover. Maybe something crazy happens and they don't score any points. You got to limit those dumb ones where you're giving up those yards because you're just not in the right position. You're not playing right. So, penalties and mental mistakes. If you're a Bucs wide receiver or running back or anyone catching the ball, I repeat, if you cannot catch the ball, bat it down, not up in the air. Tom Brady's got 4 interceptions off tip balls this year so far. What are we doing here? I think he's got 8 or 9 interceptions total.
Hey, we got a guy who could tip it to himself too with Kenny Moore, man. Tipping it to himself last week.
Something. I mean, I think he's got 9 interceptions. 4 of them are off tip balls. One of them's a Hail Mary at the end. So 4 of them are really on him. It's like, come on, guys. We got to help our quarterback out. I think it should be a stat. I think there's a lot of things that should be stats. I don't think kneel down should take away, yards from a game or anything like that. And tipped interception should not be on quarterbacks because if he's throwing the ball there, it's hitting you in the hands and you're not catching it, bobbling it, it's tipped up and it's interception. Maybe that should have an asterisk. But he's got a lot of them this year.
Drops is, that's another thing for me.
And that's another thing too. Drops. This is one of the highest teams in the league, right in the top 3 with drops by wide receivers. Can't have it. Can't have the drops. If you puts the money on the ball, you got to catch it.
I mean, with the talent that sits there. I mean, I know. Looking at our end, it's kind of one of those things. It's funny. Really quickly before I do what I'm thinking is, it's interesting you mentioned the pass interference because Colts have won several games with, hey, there's nothing there. Carson, take the cannon you got. Chuck it and see what happens. Yeah. And we've produced, some of the biggest plays, especially in the Niners game several weeks ago, was them coming back through and I got in a huge argument with a Titans buddy of mine on the Titans podcast about it, was that in my opinion, he was like, that's not right. That's a horrible play. I was like, it's on the defense. It's on the defense to know that they're going to come back. A lot of times if you turn around, you'll see that. But I mean, I was like, hey, it's I'm not going to say that I don't hate it. I mean, I don't love it. It worries me, but at the same time, I'll take it. I'll take a 45-yard penalty. So, I mean, it's funny you mentioned that because I could see that with you saying that's an issue. I could see that. I could see them trying to take some big chunk plays and draw those penalties. But I know kind of on my end, obviously it's get Jonathan Taylor running the ball. You got to get him started. They'll look to do it early, like they did against the Bills. They'll look to set the tone early with him. And then the other one is obviously disrupt Tom Brady a little bit and more get him not, like you said, he's Tom Brady. He's Tom freaking Brady. He's not seeing ghost, but disrupt his timing. Yeah. I think that's the key. He's a creature of habit when it comes to that. I think you have to disrupt his timing a little bit. I don't think unlike the Bills, because Josh Allen is Josh Allen, I don't think that you can. It's more of, I look at it as the Colts have to kind of mitigate. I don't think they're going to shut. There's just so many weapons. I don't think you can shut it all down. I think you have to kind of almost pick your poison with it and try to limit it. It's going to be one of those bend but don't break. Hopefully, is what I see.
Yeah.
So now we're kind of here at the end of it, and I'm curious. Give me your prediction, man. What do you think happens?
Yeah, I think the Bucks are able to exercise those road demons, and score some points this week. I think getting Gronk back is a huge. Obviously, I think this is me going into it. Mike Evans is playing. All right, I think Mike plays. I don't think he misses this game. I think he plays. And even if Devin White can't play, I think Kevin Minter's shown enough that he can step up. Obviously, it's a big loss in the running game department with Devin White's sideline to sideline ability, but I think you look at the Colts and their wins and their losses, and they've lost to a lot of good teams. The Titans twice, the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, the Seahawks first week of the season when Russ was still there before he was injured. You lost to the Rams, and your wins besides the Bills have all been very mediocre. Texans, 49ers, well, they're in the middle of a quarterback slump there. You look at the Dolphins, same thing. Texans, Jaguars. Last week you beat the Bills, but I'm not sure if that was Indy making a statement game coming out and turning things around, or how much that was a Buffalo Bills team slumping and just Indy's offense just matching up very well with what the Bills aren't able to do, and that's stop a heavy run game. And then getting out to a lead and neutralizing any chance for them to have a run game and making them very one-dimensional. I think Indy's a good team, and I think they definitely have a shot of everyone and almost every team in that AFC right now has got a shot of making the playoffs. And just looking at the schedule, though, it doesn't get much easier. I mean, you've got a couple games in there, but obviously the Bucks this week. And then the Patriots in 2 weeks, followed by the Cardinals. Then the Raiders. What Raiders are you getting? Still got the Texans and Jags, which should be, I don't want to say gimmies, but those should be wins on both of those games. But still a tough stretch. So it's gonna be interesting to see, what the Colts' trajectory could be after this game. But I think the Bucks come in here, they exercise those demons, they finally get a good win on the road. By outscoring their opponent, I think probably around 31, 33 points. And they probably are able to shut down Jonathan Taylor enough and make Carson Wentz try to beat you. And 17, 20 points, somewhere around there. 30 to 17, 30 to 20, 33 to 20, somewhere around there.
Okay. All right. Hey, I don't hate. I joke. We had Jordan. He's a buddy of ours. He runs Texans Thoughts, Texans Unfiltered. He works for them too, and he literally came on and picked the Texans.
Yeah.
He couldn't do it. It was like, hey, I would be more shocked if you had come in here and be like, no, the Colts are going to win. So it's kind of funny, before the Bills game, between these two games, we have the stretch of 4 games here that we said that, you had to come out 2-2, but 2 of these games are the Bills and the Bucks. You got to find a way to steal one. It's kind of how we've always felt. And what's funny is prior to last week, I felt that the Colts matched up a little bit better against the Bucks. I felt better about that game than I did the Bills game. I don't know. On one token, I don't know. Like you said, was it a statement game against the Bills? And Frank Reich and Buffalo, and we all saw his reaction after the game. Are they going to come out flat? That's a question. That's a concern because they can. They've been prone to do that before. They've been prone to kind of come out and not show up sometimes in games. Or do they come out ready because they are on this stretch run? They need to steal several games. Like you ran down the schedule between the Raiders and the Cardinals and the Patriots and you guys. They're going to have to steal some of these games if they want to make the playoffs because barring a complete collapse by the Titans, you're not winning the AFC South. The Titans, which is, hey, I'm not a Titans fan, so I'll gladly say, you never know. They don't have Derrick Henry. You never know what could happen. They lost to the Texans. So I actually think that they're going to be able to get somewhat of the run game going because it seems that they found their identity the last couple of weeks. I don't think it's going to be – so I go back and forth. I don't think it's going to be a blowout either way. I see it kind of being a touchdown type of game. Like you said, Tom has liked to give the ball away a little bit, and we love to take it. So I actually have 31-28 Colts. I think it's going to be really, really close. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be super high scoring, mainly because the Colts, I actually think the Colts are going to look to shorten the game like they did against Buffalo. The only reason it lasted longer is because he kept scoring touchdowns. But they're going to look to kind of take the air out of the ball a little bit, and they're going to mitigate. Like you said too, they're going to look, I think, to not have it in too much of Carson's hands. But on the same token, I wouldn't be shocked if they come out and they look for big plays right away to try to kind of do that shock and awe with it. But I'm going to go 31-28 Colts. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see.
I just don't see them being able to score more than 2 touchdowns. I'm just trying to figure out how they do it. Let's say Jonathan Taylor does get one, maybe Pittman. I mean, the 2 best players on the team on offense. Maybe they both get one. Where's the other one come from? How do they get the other touchdown? Is that off a turnover? Potentially, but that makes it 21. I still think the Bucs are able to put at least 30 up, 31, 33 points, somewhere around there. I just don't, even if the Colts are able to get 3 touchdowns and a field goal, I still have them around 24 points. And if the Bucs score 33, it's still a 9-point victory. 31, still a 7-point victory. So, I mean, yeah, touchdown maybe, but I think it's more likely that they're able to hold them to 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals, or 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals.
I like it.
Touchdown, 3 field goals. Sounds good to. I mean, just sounds kind of
sounds great to you, right?
Well, I mean, it just sounds what I think will probably play out, and like I said, I mean, I could be wrong, like I said, Indy's been scoring 28 points at home and they've only allowed 23 points. And you switch that around. Tampa's been letting up 28 points on the road and have only scored 23 points. So if you go by those numbers, Indy should win 28-23.
That's what I should have predicted, man. I should have just predicted 28-23.
So I mean, if you go by those numbers, but I think it's going to be a point of emphasis. It's already been asked all week so far, in press conference. What do they got to do to turn this around? What do they got to do to get better on the road? And it starts again with mental mistakes, penalties and turnovers. And if you can correct those things, I just think, as you said, their offense is too prolific. There's too many guys, even for a good Colts defense. Even for a turnover machine like the Colts defense are, and even for a team that, is getting after the quarterback pretty good. They're 15th in the league, right in the middle of the road, 23 sacks in the season. Obviously, they're not allowing many sacks, but they're getting after the quarterback. They're getting turnovers. I think we're at the point here now at post-Thanksgiving, Brady. I never bet against him. I can't. Miami, unless it's the final game of the season in Miami, then I'm betting against Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Then I will.
I'll go with that. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. I think either way, I think it's going to be a good game. There's so many great storylines in it anyway, between Tom Brady and the Colts and Bruce Arians coming back to Indy and kind of all those things. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm hoping I'm right. I'm hoping you're wrong, but I'll take, it's one of those things. Kind of here at the end, I want to give everyone a chance. I always like to give whoever we have on a chance. Tell everyone kind of where they can read your stuff, where they can follow you, all of that, where they can see you.
Yeah, for sure. PewterReport.com. If you guys want some great in-depth analysis about the Bucs, what's going on injury-wise. Again, we mentioned, Devin White, Mike Evans did not practice today. Vita Vea limited in practice. You guys want to find out about all that stuff before inactive lists come out. You want to know our take on the game. You want to know what this Bucs team has been able to do well, what they're struggling with. Go to PewterReport.com. Go to Twitter, Pewter Report. on Twitter, Instagram. Check out our YouTube page. We do podcasts. We break everything down. We got some X's and O's. And also, if you are interested too, during game days, Pewter Report, actually, we have a live in-game feed where we're breaking down the game on both sides of the ball. So if you're interested in that, listening to some, X's and O's talk during the game, that's not Tony Romo and Jim Nantz or whoever's going to be calling the game, you can do that, or you can listen to both at the same time. And then for me, if you want to follow me on Twitter, JC Allen NFL, at JC Allen NFL on Twitter. Feel free to give me a follow there on Instagram. I don't do a lot of Instagram, but I'm pretty active on Twitter. And if you ever want to reach out to me, my DMs are open. Shoot me a DM if you got any questions about the Bucs. If you want to know about betting wise or fantasy wise or whatever, my DMs are always open.
Well, thank you. I mean, I know I checked out some of the stuff after we talked the other day, and I mean, it's great stuff. We're always, I mean, here on it, I love me and Zach. Zach couldn't be here. He's the co-host with me. We love bringing on people from the other team. I want to get, and for us, we like to think we shoot for kind of the best of the best to have you guys come on here. So I was thrilled to be able to get you to come on tonight and be able to kind of talk about this and break it down. Y'all make sure that you go and do that. Please, you guys, like, share, subscribe, comment to the video. I would love, I'm different. I would love to hear from Bucs fans. So far this season, the crazy level scale is Ravens fans are number one.
Always.
I still get Lamar fanboys in my mentions, and the game was like 7 weeks ago. They still talk to me because I said I didn't know where I put him at in the top 10. So it goes them, the Seahawks are kind of crazy, and then the Titans are always insane. So let's see where the Bucs. I want to see where the Bucs hit. So flood the comments. I got no problem. Tell me what you guys think. Let me have it. So I greatly appreciate you coming on, man. We kind of ended up the same way every time. I love you. Zach's not here, and he loves you. I'm pretty sure JC loves you too. We're out.
Happy Thanksgiving.